All right. Hey, welcome all of our finning customers to a quick little demo, walk around, and some discussion about some brand new dozers and excavators we've got here. My name's Sam Meeker. I'm with Caterpillar, dozer product application specialist, and we're going to start off with some excavator stuff. We'll come back to dozers in a little bit. So let my esteemed colleagues introduce themselves.
Yeah, I'm Ryan Neal, product specialist for North America for large excavators, and this is my counterpart.
Hi, I'm Brian Stelbrink, product specialist for North America for medium and small excavators. Welcome.
So what we want to do is Brian and I are going to go sit down, have a quick discussion, and we're going to show you guys some things that we're going to do today, and then Sam will follow up later on with the tractors. But as you can see behind us, we've got a brand new 335, a full line of compact radius machines. There's some 315s as well as the 336 and the next gen 349 up on top of the berm. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into 336, and I'm going to talk about all the standard features we offer on our non-GC machines. We're going to talk about the grade control and the safety features and grade with assist and payload and many other features, and you'll be able to see us doing it live. And then Brian will give a good walk around on a 335, discussing a few specific things.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you guys in the first half of this program. Obviously, the hydraulic excavators, and then we'll finish out with the track type tractors with Sam. And again, excited to have you here. We've got 5 excavators in the background, up and down the lineup from the 315 up to the 349. And so we're excited to show those to you. I think just to take a step back, the next gen excavator product family, we're in our 3rd year of introductions now, and really started out with the machine behind us, the 336, as well as the 20 tonners, 320, 323, 320 GC. So that's really where it all started. And now we're going to carry it up and down the lineup. And regardless of which model, Ryan, it's really about a lot of key things as we introduced our new product family. It's about lowering operating costs, which comes through fuel efficiency, lower fuel consumption, through less touches on the machine, lower operating costs. A lot of things from a maintenance side. It's about more performance in the machines. It's about loaded up with standard technology and an easy upgrade path for optional additional technology. So Ryan's going to walk you through that technology, but a lot of exciting new things with the next generation of excavators, from that 315 that we're going to show you all the way up to the 349 up on the bench. Just a lot of common things that very consistent up and down that lineup that we're really excited about. So with that, I think we're going to, we'll get you up in that 336.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. So one thing before we do that, we just are coming out of the F series, which has been a great machine, but when you think about some of the things that the next gen technology or the next gen excavator has, like such as Brian mentioned, but it's a full machine makeover. The looks, the cab, the technology. There's so many different things in there, and one of the things we're going to go over here is the technology, and I'm going to go through it fairly quick, but you'll be able to see the monitor working. Me navigating through the touchscreen monitor. It's a 10-inch touchscreen monitor. You also be able to see the machine moving live, so it won't be any smoke and mirrors, you could say. It's going to be live, so you guys will be able to see me actually using the technologies that we've launched up to 3 years ago. So with that, I'm going to get started, Brian.
Okay.
If you've got anything to add to that while I get out there,
yeah, no,
we
just thought it was important to show you everything out in the iron here today. And, it's really from starting out with that technology demo and everything you see Ryan go through here. This applies down onto that 315. It applies down onto that 335 machine that we're going to do the walk around on. So again, it's really about consistency. Can't overemphasize that enough, to really provide you guys as customers a product that you can feel comfortable with and be efficient in your job and help you do your work on a day-to-day basis. So with that, we're going to hand it off to Ryan.
Alrighty, so I'm sitting in this next gen 336. It's a flagship machine for us. We're very proud of it. So I'm going to go through this screen briefly, and then we're going to show you the standard technologies that we have. So if you can see, it's a touch screen, and I'm allowed to work just like most tablets that you have today. I'm able to do quite a few functions. Now, say it's the winter time, and you guys can't see this in here, but I have a jog dial, which is very familiar and very similar to the automotive industry, where I can move this jog dial and change certain things without having to use the touchscreen. So a lot of good features in there. I can change camera views. Works really slick. This is set up with 4 different cameras. So we have an option to have what we call a 360-degree view, and I'll show you that. And it's really with safety in mind. 336 is often work in utility jobs, and you've got people working around you, and you have trench boxes and material boxes and just all kinds of things going around you. So operators typically have to have their head on a swivel. What we've got here is a full 360-degree radius view from like a drone view above the machine. So now I have virtually zero blind spots, meaning I can see the trench box behind me, and I can see if there was a truck to the right of me or to the left of me and even in front of me. So really nice view to be able to look around and see what's going on. Right now, this is just good timing. Standard on 336 is standard on most next-gen excavators is reversing fan. So you can go in and set the time for that to go on and off depending on your conditions that you're in. But that's just, it's a neat view to be able to see what all the cameras can do. And I'll go back to the other view. Now, while we're doing this, when you get in the machine, we've got buttons set up, and they're configured for lots of different things. Operators can set up their own profile. And if I press and hold a button over here, it gives me some very specific information. So when I get in, it tells me who's logged in. So I'm just named as operator 1. It tells me my joystick pattern, ISO or backhoe loader. I also have what size bucket I have on there. It's going to let you know it's a 60-inch bucket or whatever you may have on there. And then my modulation curve for, I've got the joystick set up to be fast so the machine will be a little quicker. But some of the more important things are, what do these buttons do? We talk about all this standard technology that I'm going to show you with grade control and payload and e-fence and these things that are, they're great features, but you want to know how they work. Well, if you get in here and you want to set up your buttons to do something, I have my left joystick set up for pretty much all of the payload situations. And I'll show you what I mean by payload. We have scales on this excavator, and I can tell you how much material I'm putting in a truck. And on the right side, we have it set up for all of the grade control features. So what we're going to do is, we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to go through and show you some of the basics of these. And we're going to use, actually, I changed my mind. I want to go back to straight to the safety features. We've got some features on here. We're indoors, as you can tell, and excavators do work indoors often, and sometimes you have overhead obstructions. You have obstructions to the left, to the right, so on and so forth. So what we have is we call it e-fence, and I can set it up so the top of the boom and the stick will not go past a certain point. So whether it's a power line or whether it's a tree or some rafters inside of a building, in a skeleton building, and you want to make sure that doesn't get that obstruction, we can set that. We can do one for the floor, meaning if we had a fiber optic at a specific depth, I could say that's down 5 feet, and I can tell the monitor, don't go down below 5 feet. It's not going to physically allow it to do it. One out in front of it, we call E-wall. If you're working up against a building and you want to make sure that the operator doesn't stick their bucket out and hit the building, it would prevent that. And one that we have here is cab avoidance as well. A lot of machines, you put couplers on them and you have teeth that protrude out far from the bucket. They potentially can get into the cab, and that is a awful expensive fix. So we can prevent that from happening as well, and swinging left and right. If you think about an excavator working in traffic and you have live traffic going to the left or the right of you, we can prevent the machine from swinging into that. So I'm going to go through a few of these pretty quick. As you guys can see the monitor, nothing's on or activated, but I've got this box right here, and I'm going to press and hold. It's a shortcut to get into it. I want to go to E-fence, and I'm going to turn on E-sealing. This is one that's going to prevent me from going up too high. So I'm 24.75 feet from the obstruction, and now that's lit up green there. So if I come down, it's not going to bark at me anymore. The noise went off. I can go about doing my business. But as I boom up, and you guys can see on that split screen, it's going to beep at me. It's beeping, and now it's stopping me, and I'm giving 100% boom up command, and it's not allowing me to go through it, preventing that from happening. Now, there are some things that an operator has to keep in mind. You know, if I travel, what's going to happen? Because this is two-dimensional, meaning the machine does not know elevation. So because it doesn't know elevation, there has to be some operator input. And so if I touch a travel pedal, it gives me a warning saying E-fence detect travel, meaning, okay, the operator needs to look at, do I need to change my ceiling height because of I just went down 2 foot or came up 2 foot? Because the machine technically doesn't know that because it's two-dimensional. But if I want to go in and turn it off real quick, I press and hold, takes me right off. One of the other features I like to do is, I'm going to come over here and make a scratch in the dirt. Maybe you'll be able to see that on the camera view, but you're going to see that. And we're going to pretend that that's an obstruction. So I'm going to set the bucket right next to it. I'm going to make sure that I don't want the right side of my bucket to go past that obstruction. So I'm going to go to E-fence, and I'm going to go to E-swing right, meaning I'm going to swing right. So I'm going to come back over here, and if you can see on the monitor, I have a green dash over here. So I'm going to give 100% swing, and I'm swinging, and it's going to slow me down and not let me get to that obstruction. So think of that being a building, a retaining wall, a Jersey barrier, live traffic, whatever it may be. You can set it for the right, you can set it for the left, you can set them all over the place, so this machine can work safely in a one specific area. I also want to show you cab avoidance. So I want to turn it off, and hopefully the camera view will be able to see that I can technically get really close to the cab. Now I'm not going to hit it, but we're going to get as close to it as we can to show you that, hey, there's an opportunity for that to potentially hit the cabin. So I'm really close. I'm not going to hit it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to only stick back out. And now I'm going to go turn that feature back on. I'm going to go into my E-fence section, and I want to go to cab avoidance. I'm going to turn it on. Now all these things happen because we've done measure ups on this machine. We know where that bucket tip is. We know the shape of the bucket. We know how tall it is and how deep it is. We also know where the boom and stick are at all times. So since we've done all those measurements and I've turned it on, it's going to start beeping at me here in a second. And now it's not going to let me get in there. I'm giving all the stick in command that the machine's asking for. It's not going to allow me to go past that. So that's all fine and dandy when you're working close to the cab, but what if you have concrete in the bucket or stumps or just structures that protrude out from the bucket? You want to make sure they don't get up into the cab. Well, I can physically take that invisible shield that we give around the cab, and I can extend that out, a foot, a meter, whatever it may be, and it'll prevent that from coming in and working and getting into the cab. I want to turn it off. I can press and hold real quick. I want to make sure it's turned back off so I can get it back on the low boy and go right back to work. So recap of the safety features. We have cab avoidance. We have e-sealing, preventing it from going too high. We can prevent it from going too low. We can prevent it from going out too far, as well as left and the right, kind of making this thing work in a safety bubble, you could say. And that is standard on all non-GC next-gen excavators. So we're going to go now to the grade control screen, and what we're going to do is, again, we can't be inside, or we are inside, so I can't do 3D using GPS, but we're going to use the standard 2D feature, and we're going to put in a depth. And depending on what you're doing, you could put in a depth of 10 feet, 5 feet, 1 foot, whatever, but we have it set up where you can have multiple depths at one time. So if you're doing storm sewer work and you dig down to the bottom of grade and then you need to bring in filling for sand, you can have 2 or 3 up to 4 different offsets for that. But for today's purposes, we're just going to go ahead and we have a 4-foot cut in there already. Now I need to bench, so 4 foot from where? I remember that my button over here, my top right button on my right joystick is bench. And so now I'm going to bench. So it's telling me that I need to go down 4 foot. There's an arrow going down. I also have light bars on the side of the screen here that are going to give me indication. So as I start to dig, I'm going to get all of these things working for me. Remember, because it knows where the tip of that bucket is. It knows the shape of the bucket. It knows a lot about what's going on. Place that material over here. This works really good for doing simple foundations, footings, field tile work. You can put a percentage in. I could put up to 3-4% in here, up to up to 30% if needed, or degrees, or rise over run, depending on what you prefer to use. But if you remember, we had a 4-foot cut in there, and now I'm getting closer down to grade, and I still have about 2 foot to go. So we're gonna keep going. And it gives me live indication. You can turn on alarms, very similar to a grade rod on a laser. It's can beep on grade, above grade, and below grade, so you can know what you're doing without having to stare at the monitor. Because the whole goal is just to dig safe and not continue to look at that. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of noise. Let me know I'm getting close. Works pretty well. If I was doing any other sort of trenching application, it keeps from somebody having to be down in the holes often. It's a production and a safety oriented feature. So okay, now it's beeping at me. Okay, So I'm right on grade. Now, I have to do this what we call indicate only. It's up to me to dig to grade. I have to maintain it by listening to the tones or watching the light bars. And that can be difficult in certain material. It can be difficult if you're super deep and you can't see. So now I've gone too deep. It's telling me that I'm 26 hundredths below grade, and you can see it there on the screen as well. So if I come up, all right, okay, now I'm on grade. Now it's up to me, indicate only, to try and dig on grade. And that works great. It keeps me from having to get in and out of the machine, checking grade all the time. You can have an optional laser catcher on the side of the stick if you so choose to use one of those. And I can just come back down here, put my bucket tooth down. All right, check grade. There, I'm right on grade. So that's great, but what if you are in that super deep area and you're 3 or 4 meters down and it's soft material and you have a trench box and you can't see what's going on? Well, we have a feature called Grade with Assist. And what that does is the operator manually digs down to their desired elevation and depth. And then when that happens is I can go ahead and turn on a feature, and it's going to prevent the bucket tooth from going below grade. And so now I'm going to turn it on, and it's letting me know that Grade Assist is on. So I'm going to come down here, it's active, and it's not going to allow me to go below grade. So I'm giving boom down command, and I'm only going to stick in, and it's going to maintain grade for me. So that works really well for those deep sewer applications or whatever it may be. You're pulling slope all day long. Want to make sure that you're staying accurate and consistent. And it just, trying to dig on grade all day long can be taxing for the operator. And you want to make sure that they're giving their best. And we're going to pull grade. Some hard material here that I'm digging in. But as you can see, there's very little input. The operator can virtually take their hand off of the boom and bucket functions and just stick in, and the machine will maintain grade. And I can do that with percentage. I can do that using 3D. If I'm using GPS, it performs the same way, whether it's 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional. And it just takes a lot of the extra effort for the operator out of the situation where it's long, tedious days of digging a specific grade all the time. And it's true and consistent and accurate all day long. So that works extremely well. I'm going to turn that off. Now we're going to go to one other feature here. We're going to use Payload feature. Now, often when we talk about this, we ask questions, how many or what size excavators load trucks? And it's a mixed bag because it could be a 313 size excavator or it could be a 395 and everything in between. So what we're going to do is we're going to load a truck, and I'm going to spot my truck over here. We've got a 740 ejector truck coming in here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put material on this truck, and it's going to tell me how much I'm putting on by every single bucket and counting down as to what's going on. So as he comes in here, I'll honk him in. And for time's sake, we probably won't load it completely full, but that's good right there. Truck's there. Now, we're loading trucks all day long. I want to make sure that I'm not staring at this monitor and things going on. So I can turn the system on. So we've loaded a whole bunch of trucks, 140 ton. I'm going to clear that truck out. And we want to start over. So we have no material right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a specific amount of material that I want to tell it that I'm going to load. So we'll just go 20 ton for now. Put in the zeros, hit OK. Back to the home screen, and I've got 20 ton in there. So what you're going to see is I take a scoop, we're going to get the weight that's in the truck, or I'm sorry, that's in the bucket right here. And as I dump it into the truck, it's going to go over to the truck, which that's a truck bed, and it'll deduct that weight from the target payload. So as you can see, I'm going to come up out of the ground here. Okay, so now I've got 2.5 ton now in there. So what it's doing is it's taking a weight, but now I don't want to stare at the screen. So as I boom up and swing, and I dump it to the truck, that went green. Now, if you notice from the center, it's removed that from the 20 ton. It's going to continue to count down. That is one bucket, and 2 ton in the truck, and the goal is to get to 20. We know that fines can be expensive. You get on highway trucks, and the goal of this is to prevent overloading and underloading, honestly. If I am worried about scales and I don't want to get fines, so we're putting 5 ton less on every truck that goes onto the road, you're losing a lot of time and material and money by doing that. So if we can prevent that and give you an accurate weight, plus or minus 3%, you're going to be able to do that all day long consistently and not have to worry about getting fines, as those can be tremendously expensive depending on where you live. So as you can see, we've got 11.9 ton left to go. I've got 8 ton in the truck. I've made 3 passes. I really don't have to watch it much. I let the system do the work. And when I get closer, I'm going to get a tone, and it's going to let me know that I'm within a bucket or two of being close to my 20 ton target. It's really seamless. The goal is to not stare at the monitor, as that's really not productive nor safe. Just want the operator to load trucks and be productive all day. So I'm down to 6.2 ton. It's really fluid. You get weights immediately when you come out of the hole, which works pretty slick. Okay, I've got 3 ton to go. Now, the goal is here, these have, very similar to the payload system on a wheel loader, we have what we call tip-off. So I'm going to try to really heat that up. Okay, so I have too much material in the bucket. I'm about a ton over, so I have a red bullseye letting the operator know, okay, you're gonna go too much. So what the operator does is they shake off some of that material right here in the cut. Get rid of it, see if you can get close to your 3 ton. A little more yet, and you can get as accurate as you want, spend as much time as you want. Okay, that's going to be a little light, but I'm going to just go with it, and we'll be about a little less than a ton short probably. Dump that in. Okay, I'm 1 ton shy. If I'm happy with that, I can send the truck on or keep going. So I'm 19 ton, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to send the truck off. I click the button to store it, it resets, and you just continue to go back and forth all day long. And what it does is it gives me, I've got 3 trucks to go. The great thing about this, at the end of the day, you want to see your totals for the day and what you've done, is I can go into the monitor and I can say, all right, what did I do today? And I'm going to go to what we call the work monitor, which makes sense. How much work did I perform today? It's going to give you a lot of detail, and the machine is all keeping track of this, and it's really amazing that it's going to tell me in gallons per hour, and if you're switching to metrics, it'll tell you liters per hour, and so in tons per hour, 192 tons per hour I'm averaging. Efficiency of 35.9 tons per gallon. Total payload for the day is 189.6 tons. Now, obviously, there was some material that had been stored previously, but if you loaded, 6,000 tons that day, it would give it to you. It gives it in total volume. You can put a density in. You can also get down to truck count and total buckets and your fuel used. All this information is provided only because I'm clicking a button and storing the data. And it's pretty amazing how much you can do that. So you can look at it visually there. You can also take a USB stick, plug it in the side of the monitor, pull all that information off as well, and it will put it in an Excel spreadsheet form for you. You can also, using our VisionLink system, log into your computer at home and check to see or the office to see how the machine's doing and what the operators have been doing all day. And you can keep track of that via VisionLink. And again, one of the nice features about this system is it's operator friendly, and you can store up to 50 different operator profiles in this monitor. So if I use ISO ISO controls for me, and then when Brian was going to get in here and run it tomorrow, he likes to run backhoe loader controls. He can put in his own separate password, and all his settings will be set for him. So it's very operator and user specific, up to 50 different operators on here. Now, I honestly could talk for hours about this. We don't have a lot of time, but because I want to give Brian Stelbrink some time to talk about the 335. But we wanted to show you some of the great features we have with the safety features, the grade control features, and then the grade with assist, which prevents the operator from over digging and it helps them maintain grade consistently, as well as this truck loading application where I can keep track of productivity, prevent overloading and underloading of the trucks. So with that, I'm going to shut down here, and I'm going to let Brian talk about the 335 so we can switch cameras over to him and he can bestow his knowledge about excavators to you guys. So
All right. Thank you very much, Ryan. Very well done. So Ryan showed us a number of very simple, easy to use, powerful technologies that are standard up and down the lineup. And again, that's what we're most excited about, keeping this simple, keeping it consistent. So this new 335 back behind me has all that technology that you had just seen, plus a whole lot more. And that's where we want to take some time and get you around this machine the best we can, kind of highlight some of the key features, some of the key things that we're pretty excited about and hope you are too. So to take a step back, this is really one of the first times we're showing this machine. It's a very new machine for us. As we look across the Next Gen Hex lineup, this is our new 335. So it replaces the outgoing 335F. And what it boils down to, it's about a 35-ton machine, 80,000 pounds. And if you think of what this machine is and kind of where it lives and spends a lot of its time, it's essentially our 330 size upper sitting on a 336 bottom. So in a compact radius platform. So if you think about where performance really meets versatility in an 80,000 pound compact radius and what that machine can do, some very large scale work, finding itself in heavy underground utility work, a lot of road jobs, heavy infrastructure projects, where it still has the size and scale, but yet is nimble enough to work in from some pretty restricted job sites. This is our third Next Gen Excavator compact radius machine in the lineup. Over to my left is actually our 315 that we've recently introduced. That's our 15-ton compact radius. And then we've also introduced out at ConExpo, for those of you out there, our 325. So that's our 25-ton compact radius right in the middle of them. So back to this 335, it's really about high performance. It's about great stability and being very nimble and being able to work in confined spaces. So what we did with this machine is we cranked up the power on it. So we're now up over 200 kilowatts. So over 270 horsepower in an 80,000 pound machine. So quite a bit of power there, quite a bump up from what we had previously. Highest horsepower level in its class by far. And we're really excited about getting these out into the marketplace. Again, very new machine for us, and we're certainly excited about it. Compact radius machines having a full-size cab, so that cab that Ryan had showed you in some detail and how he was interacting with the technology, it's no different in this machine. It's no difference as we go down into our 15-ton compact radius. So that's a little bit different from what some of the others in the industry and what we've had previously. To bring that comfort, that next-gen hex feeling in the cab into the compact machines is something certainly, again, we're hope you'll be very excited about in getting around these machines. So I want to show you a little more detail about it. We kind of explained what it was in a very simple sense, but maybe Nick, if we pan some of the fronts here, just to kind of work our way from front to back around the machine. But we've got some different ground engaging tools, so some bucket teeth and some adapters. We've changed those. It's fairly new to the Caterpillar excavators. And if you look down on the bucket teeth itself, so we've changed the retention method, and we've also changed some of the teeth as well. So what this does for us, it gives us very quick changeability, very positive retention, and also increased wear resistance, so extending the life, especially in more difficult ground conditions. As we move our way up from the buckets and the cutting edges and the bucket teeth themselves, we've got our quick coupler on this machine. It's fully equipped with auxiliary hydraulics, and what we have on all these machines available is what we call a smart tool control system. And what that does is we can pre-program from the factory our most popular hydraulic work tools, such as a thumb, a crusher, hammers, compactors, shears, a lot of other demolition tools. And what that allows us to do is to have those programs, those settings pre-programmed so that machine operates most efficiently at its highest performance level, yet protects the tool from possibly receiving excess pressures or excess flows. Okay, so that's something that is integrated into the machine, allowing you to very quickly change work tools, change the hydraulic needs of those tools to really run them most efficiently and very quickly from a versatility and changeover standpoint. Okay, so that's a little bit about the auxiliary lines. We've got high pressure lines plus a medium pressure, which is often for a rotate function. A little bit about the technology on the boom and the stick. If you look at back behind this protected cover, that's where one of our sensors is. We call them our inertial measurement units. What that's telling us is the angular position of the stick. We've got another one back here, Nick, up on the boom. And then we also have a rotational sensor down here near the bucket linkage that is well protected. So obviously the working end of the machine is in some pretty severe environments. So we protect that rotational sensor back behind that plate so that you can submerge that, you can work in some very difficult conditions, and it's very well protected. That's standard technology that's on the machine, and those sensors are basically telling us what the working parts of the machine are doing to allow e-fence to work, to allow grade control to work, to allow payload to work. So that's really the brains behind the system to make that technology work, and that's right out there on the end of the working range of the machine. We work our way back. We've always, at Caterpillar, used larger box structures, so as large a cross-section as we can, all the way down back to the base of the boom. But we do that for a reason. It's to increase the durability, the overall strength of the structures, especially with some of the torsional loads and the twisting that can happen in some of the harsher environments. So again, long-term durability from a resale standpoint, and really providing the maximum strength in the machine. Work our way back and take a look at that cab. Again, Ryan gave you a little more detail of it, but it's the same cab that's from the operator forward that's on that 336. Same cab experience. That operator will be up with that 349 up on the bench. Ingress, egress, so getting in and out of the machine, especially in the wintertime. Somebody's getting in and out of the machine quite a bit. They may still have their coats on and you know, extra clothing, and to really have good wide access to get it in and out of that machine. Second monitor display, that's for the 3D GNSS. And you've got a lot of the other creature features and comfort features that Ryan had pointed out that we're just, for sake of time, not going into great detail. But again, the overall space and where things are and the storage location and how to interact with that display and make this machine work and interact with the technology simple and easily in a compact radius machine with all that size. Okay, we'll kind of work our way around the machine and point out a few things. So we've got some extra storage that is underneath this area here. So if we have, for cold weather, especially up in the parts where you guys are at, we have a second set of batteries are back behind this panel, but you do have jump start access back behind this compartment. So a total of 4 batteries, along with ether aid, can really help with the cold weather start capability of the next gen 335, as well as a lot of the other models that we offer. So we're going to open up back behind the pump, or back behind the cab. We've got our cooling compartment, and a couple things to point out in here, Nick, is everything's very well laid out. You can access things for the most part from ground level. We've got our cooling package, our engine air filter. And what we've done with the engine air filters on the next gen Hex, we're applying a lot more common part numbers as we go up and down the lineup. So really minimizing the number of filters helps with your stocking levels at your particular place. And we've increased the capacity, so double the air filter capacity, part of extending those maintenance intervals, helping drive down the operating costs. This is just one contributor towards that. From a cooling standpoint, this is a on-demand hydraulic cooling fan, which includes reversing capability automatically. So you can go in there and adjust the interval, and it will automatically reverse to help purge those cooling cores, help keep things clean, help from a maintenance standpoint, and keep you up and running. That standard feature. Also with that, from the cooling standpoint, is we've got auto warm-up feature. So that's something that Ryan may have pointed out in the cab of the 336, but that has it as well. It's an auto warm-up feature for the hydraulics, and what that does is it allows you to automatically warm up that hydraulic system without stalling the different functions manually as many of you traditionally have. You can still do that, but let the machine do that work for you. And what the machine is going to do that most efficiently and essentially work the hydraulic valve during this warm-up period to bring it up to temperature as quickly as possible in all the different areas of the hydraulic system. Okay, so that's something that works well from the cooling standpoint. We've got the engine radiator, the hydraulic cooling, air conditioning condenser, fuel cooler is off to the right there, and then up top is the charge air. So that's our cooling package on demand with reversing capability, auto warm-up feature. You've got some other things that are relatively easy to get to inside this machine. You've got your batteries that are sealed, maintenance-free. Second set of them are actually accessed underneath the cab, and that's part of the cold weather package as well. I've got the ether bottle location back on near the counterweight. So everything very well laid out, easy to get to, easy to clean those cooling cores. You can put some additional screens in there as well. So trying to make things simple and easy and minimize the downtime and the maintenance required. Also in this location, just to point out, we've got our diesel exhaust fluid, so part of Tier 4 final emissions. The thing to keep about that, keep it clean, keep it full, and let the machine do what it needs to do. It's basically a maintenance-free DPF. There's really nothing that needs to be done from an emission standpoint. Again, requires diesel exhaust fluid as our former F-Series did. Keep it clean, keep it full, and just run the machine. It's a passive regen system, so it does what it needs to do on its own. Doesn't require any maintenance throughout the life, basically the life of the engine. It's maintenance free. Okay, so with that, Nick, in the interest of time, we're gonna work our way back around the machine. You can get a good shot at that counterweight. Massive counterweight, compact radius machine. We do a few things differently to help increase the lift capability. And one of those is the boom foot, which I didn't point out earlier, but we move the boom foot pivot point further back towards the center of the machine. And what that does, it helps with lifting capability. It helps with balance. We also slam a massive amount of counterweight in the back of this machine that can more than make up for what you lose from a tail swing standpoint. So that's the challenge with compact radius machines, is putting as much counterweight as you can, package everything together, but still have a very strong lifting machine, which this one is. So we've done that with the counterweight. We've done that with putting that boom foot further back, so it's a very good lifting machine. And another thing that we focused on with this new 335 is the track gauge. We actually moved the track gauge a little bit further out. So I mentioned before, it's essentially a 336 bottom. It's actually a little bit wider than what's on that 336 over there. So again, good stable platform for lift and stability, and putting larger buckets and larger work tools and stretching out with those tools. Very good solid platform for a lot of the applications where this thing is going to live. We work our way around in the pump compartment. And again, we're looking at a compact machine here, so think about how the engineers have packaged the emissions package up top. Very well laid out. We've got the hydraulic pump area, so it's a 2-pump system. The additional pump on the outside here, that's actually for the fan pump. So that is what's providing that on-demand hydraulic fan that adjusts for different speeds and only runs as needed, helping with fuel consumption, helping with auto-reversing capability. So that's what that guy is doing. We've got our filters grouped. So on the right-hand side here, you can see there's 2 fuel filters. So we've extended the intervals on the fuel filters, and that helps with that overall lower owning and operating costs, less touch points on the machine, and making them easy to get to. Again, ground level, easy to get to. Your fuel filter's located right there. If we go over to the left side here, Nick, we've got our engine oil filter. So less waste. You've got that spin off, and you basically, it's an element inside there. So you can change that engine oil filter, very easy to get to, out towards the compartment. So again, very good access there. Also with the oil sampling. So we can pull an oil sample while the machine's running, gives you your best quality oil sample, and very easy to get to. We've got a hydraulic oil sample that's back down right next to the pump. So again, good access. And probably one of the most exciting things is from ground level checking the oil. Think safety. Think about keeping people down on the ground and minimizing the chances of something happening. And what we have located right here, this is to check the engine oil. So the machine's going to do it for you, but oftentimes it's very common. You want to go out there and check it yourself as part of a daily walk around and check. And now to be able to do that from ground level, you have very easy access to check the engine oil. If you needed to top it up for some reason, safe access to the top platform of the machine. You can add the oil. There's another dipstick up top there where you can check it after you added it. Okay, so again, making it convenient, making it easy. Being able to check the hydraulic oil is basically right inside here. The tank's just on the other side of this panel. So again, so that's the pump compartment. And we kind of work our way around the machine against, we share 336 larger size components underneath here, which really helps with that stability, helps with climbing power of the machine. On the front right corner, this is where all the hydraulic valving is. So if you see the hoses that are coming out right next to the right side of the boom, that's our hydraulic valve back down inside here. And as with other next-gen excavator machines, it's an electro-hydraulic system, allows a lot of the semi-automated features and the overdig protection, the assist as we called it, that Ryan had showed you. It's really a platform for some pretty amazing things that we can do both now and in the future. And that valve is packaged behind the front right corner of that machine. If you do need to go up on top of that machine for some reason, very good access, wide platform up top, can maintain 3 points of contact. And once you're on the top platform of that machine, bolts are all recessed, stamp plate, good traction up there, especially in some of the tough climate conditions that you guys get into. But just overall, very well laid out. And that's our 335 and some of the details around it. Hopefully that gives you a good feel for not just what's in this machine, but also what's common across of our next generation excavators. So if we went over to that 315, which is back behind this one, you would see a very similar layout, very similar features. So really driving that consistency again. So hopefully that gives you a good feel for what this new 335 is about. Again, really we're high performance and production capability, great lifting capability, meets a very versatile, compact, nimble machine that can work in very tight restricted areas, yet do some big time work, okay? So with that, hopefully you enjoyed the time with the next generation excavators.